cash crisis. We're talking about Venezuela once again.
To make important banks, they removed the 1,000 thing on there called monetary awareness.
The People's Talk Show is starting now, and it's time for business. Let's talk about today's news and give me a call.
I'm always continue to remind people to get their preps up, man. So if you guys are interested, I encourage you, forpatriots.com/RTD. They have a variety of interesting preps that can definitely make a difference if stuff does happen. Pray to God it doesn't, but you got water, energy, food, you name it. And so this holiday season, they got even more deals. So forpatriots.com/RTD. Go check them out if you guys are interested. Okay, man. If it ain't one thing, it's another. Let's keep it going, man. Okay, so here's something that I came across. It's just very timely. Amongst all the issues the U.S. has, we still managed to come up with the funds needed to make sure that Zelensky gets his bread. And so it says that a surprise Kyiv stop Austin offers Ukraine support $100 million in military hardware. And so we just a week ago had a possible government shutdown that was avoided. But then again, more can kicking. And within that stipulation of the agreement of this new debt limit or whatever was the stipulation of no aid for Ukraine, no new aid for Ukraine. But somehow, some way, the U.S. found a way to come up with an extra $100 million in military hardware to give to Ukraine. And then, of course, there was I think Janet Yellen was on like CBC or something like that. And she was talking about we can't afford to give up on Ukraine and because they're too important on the home front. And I'm thinking like, like how in the world? But then again, I just mentioned it just because it's, another day, another dollar when it comes to making sure that Zelensky gets his bread. So here you got a surprise visit. And it says he didn't come empty-handed. That's what made me laugh. It says Secretary of Defense Austin did not come empty-handed during his unannounced visit to Kyiv. So once again, they're supposed to be in the middle of a war, and our Secretary of Defense just pops up in Ukraine, like in the midst of a war zone, supposedly. So as of today, they popped up and gave him some bread. So more military aid. I thought that was worth mentioning. Okay, keep it moving. So these are just articles. These are just things that came across my headlines on top of everything else. So I'll open the phone lines. Love to hear what you guys are keeping your eyes on and what you want to bring to the table. But on top of the U.S. continuing to just funnel assets and funds to Ukraine, what better way to begin continuing to dial back off of what the U.S. is using as a weapon? And so it says China and Saudi Arabia signed a $7 billion currency swap agreement, adding to de-dollarization push. And so $7 billion in the grand scheme of things is small. But as I keep trying to just hit across is the fact that you're not going to disrupt the petrodollar system like that. It's going to take time. It's going to take small incremental changes that add up in the long run. And so when I see things like this, it just reminds me as to what's going on the other side of the world, to where despite what we do here, they're still moving forward with trying to better position themselves outside of U.S. liabilities. And so real quick, it says China already signed a currency swap. It says there's yet another push towards dollarization. China's, move out the way. China's understanding balance of forex swap lines hit a record 117 billion yuan. So ultimately, because all of these agreements that are going on now, and the fact that China has positioned themselves strategically with OPEC nations, especially Saudi Arabia, having exchange facilities and stuff like that. And they have special agreements dealing with energy in the yuan and the real. So there's no need for dollars in those trades there. So what this is doing is basically putting the Petrol yuan on, not necessarily center stage, but it's building a foundation for the Petrol yuan, which starts with small incremental exchanges such as $7 billion. But just some more information here. It says the 3-year deal allows for a maximum of 50 billion yuan or 26 billion reals. So nothing in between the real and the yuan, spells Federal Reserve note, aka dollar. It says while relatively small, the deal could loom larger symbolically, as Saudi Arabia is the world's top oil exporter and most global oil trades are conducted in dollars. And it says, although Russia is China's top oil supplier, China's imports 65 billion worth of Saudi crude oil in 2022. So regardless of the sanctions on Russia and all the nations supposed to be doing business with Russia, they're still moving forward. Oil is still flowing. The yuan is being used. The ruble is being used. The real is being used. And, of course, a dollar. But then again, this type of activity wasn't present prior to the GFC especially, but before the whole pandemic stuff started, and especially the Ukraine Russia proxy war. So these type of deals weren't as prevalent, but they are becoming that way now. So yeah, the Petrol Yuan is kind of being utilized. But anyway, here's another one. Oh, that's the same one. I was just looking at a different article. And so on another front today, the SEC is cracking down on cracking in a sense. And I thought this was interesting for my crypto people, that they're now talking about a select few of these digital assets are labeled as securities. So we have Cardano, Axis, Algo, we got Atom, we got Chiliz, we got Carti, we got Dash, Filecoin. So a nice list of coins here that could be facing some problems, because all of these coins here, aka companies, are essentially controlled entities. They got boards and they got teams, they got treasuries, they got all the infrastructure of a business. And therefore, the SEC is probably going to be going after them one way or another, putting more pressure downward on the crypto space. So for some, it could be a buying opportunity for those who dip and dabble. And for others, it could be like, okay, a little bit of a rattle the cage a little bit to cause a little fear in the markets. But who knows? But I thought that was interesting, because those projects there, some of them have some promise. Anyway, keep it moving. And I wanted to mention this, because this is something that I always want to point back to some of the concerns in dealing with the digital asset space. And so, as I mentioned, I start off, maybe you guys, I'm not sure if I was cut off or not, but I start off with referring to some comments from a video earlier about how I never talk favorably about cryptos. And one of the reasons is because not all the coins will last. Not all the coins will be treated the same. And as we just saw here with those coins that might be labeled securities, they're all centrally controlled with several points of failure along the way. And so Tether is a great example. It's a stable coin. It's the Federal Reserve's, it's the Federal Reserve's, linchpin. But it says Tether freezes 225 million in stolen USDT linked to a crime syndicate, according to their own. They're the judge, jury, and executor when it comes to stuff like this. But the fact that it was frozen, because it's a centralized project with all the permissioned activity controlled by a single force, that is very common. And I don't know the details of it, but that same type of infrastructure, to where there's a single point of failure where a person can literally look at an address and cut it off. I do believe that a lot of those projects I just named a moment ago, they fall under the same category, because they have all the same structures of a company that has a product, and the product is their blockchain, and the derivative of their blockchain are those tokens. So those tokens, literally, they can see where they go, how they go, who has what, and at any point they say that it's a crime, you're part of a crime syndicate because you're a MAGA supporter or you're a Melee supporter. They can say, you know what, let's cut those wallets off. That's how problematic the centralized digital asset space can be. And so that's why I don't really go out here and pump bags on different types of coins, because we haven't been in this space long enough to know the long-term effects that a central control project can have. We ain't experienced it yet. So I'm mentioning this just because that's why I don't go out here saying, oh, go ahead and load your bags up and get, a whole bunch of, what I'm saying? Come on now. So anyway, I just had to mention that. Okay, keep it going. So here's another, Melee, of course, I'm curious to get you guys' thoughts on that. I was going back and forth throughout the day, seeing all types of thoughts, whatever. Well, time will tell. The fruit that falls from the tree never lies. But something that stood out to me was this little excerpt here from Joshua. And he was basically comparing the Melee supporters to the MAGA supporters, and kind of like throwing shade at the MAGA supporters, because Melee has already talked about the things that he's going to do and Trump had a chance to do it, but didn't really do it, in reference to how big and bad he was talking prior to becoming president. And so I thought this is just a different perspective that I didn't, consider. But it says MAGA conservatives in the U.S. are celebrating Javier Milei's win as though his platform is somehow similar to theirs. This is hilarious and laughable. So check this out. MAGA has more in common with the candidates Milei defeated than with Milei himself. Then he goes on to list why. Milei wants to privatize state-run media. MAGA wants the state to control the U.S. media. Milei wants universal free trade. MAGA wants protectionism and tariffs. Milei wants to end the central bank. MAGA wants the POTUS to manipulate interest rates. Milei wants to end corporate handouts. MAGA wants corporate handouts for their favorite industries. Milei wants to stop the money printer. The MAGA president printed half of the dollars in existence in 2021. Milei wants to cut welfare programs. MAGA wants to expand Social Security, Medicaid, and Medicare. I don't know about a lot of these, but it says Milei wants to slash spending. The MAGA president added more to the debt in 4 years than any other 4-year president in history. I wouldn't. Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So he's obviously not a Trump lover, but I just thought some of those points that he was trying to point across were interesting. Anyway, next one here. Financial fragility is worst in decade for households, NY Fed says. So it says the ability of U.S. households to cover an unexpected $2,000 expense is at its lowest level in a decade. So that's not good news there. And there was a graph on the other little article I saw, but it says only 65% of surveyed households said they will be able to come up with $22,000. So 65%. So that's an interesting survey there. But the last one here, nuclear. It says nuclear war will happen. Putin ally warns. So basically, TV host of Raza One, a Russian station, justified his views by saying that a nuclear strike would not lead to widespread death and destruction if used against non-nuclear nations. So it's as if that's even better. So anyway, it's just the fact that people do believe that there could be a possible nuclear war. It's never a good thing, but that is what it is. Okay, so enough of me ranting, man. Those are just some headlines amongst many other things that came across my radar today. And I wanted to try to do a couple more short videos. So let me know what you guys think about those. I enjoy being able to just, rant off the top of my head and, share some thoughts. But let me open up the phone lines. I want to hear from you guys directly. What's going on? What's new out here in these streets? Yeah, lots of, it's just, man, very, very interesting. I've been trying to figure out on my end, how to shake some things up. And I have like a couple of visual aids that I want to draw out of my head that, kind of shifts gears a little bit for myself, talking about more than just the things I talk about, geopolitics, politics, monetary policy, stuff like that. Just because I need to, as I always mentioned a couple weeks ago, need to shake some stuff up and just keep my motives and motion high. Anyway, you're against Palestinian babies being blown in pieces. You're anti-American. Okay, what's that about? I hope Milei has good security. Going against central banks, dangerous business. Yeah. Okay. So to that point, I was thinking, he definitely ran a great campaign mentioning what he would do. Okay. So now he's getting his foot in the door. Now we're going to find out, how far he'll be willing to go, because if he is a real disruption, then he's going to find out that one person can't do it alone. So his surrounding party, his cabinet, will need to be of like mind. If not, it won't go too well. And then his Congress, everybody in the other parties have to be in line, or he won't get much done. So literally his entire term could be spent trying to go against his own people in his own country. So where, if he really is disruptive, the controlling forces i.e. IMF and everybody else that has lent billions to that country, can literally have things tied up, amongst his parties, amongst everything else, to where he's not able to accomplish anything, to where he has to continue to just, kick the can down the road and bit by bit take away things that could help better his country. But more than likely, the chance of him coming in and getting outright support from everybody, I would find that hard to believe. But then again, first time for everything. But time will tell. But another thought I was thinking, like, so it's one thing to be a distraction. It's two ways to look at it. He's either a distraction or he's a real disruptor. And so in comparison to our former president here, I was always like, okay, a lot of the things he's saying is very disruptive. But then again, as time went along, he disrupted some things, but he, at this current moment, appears to be, to me, more of a distraction, just because he's out here on these tours saying the same thing. And it's like, we know that already. You told us that last year, 2 years ago. So what's new? Like, he knows more than he's able to say. So there's limits to what these guys will be willing to do. Because Trump and Milei know, at the end of the day, if they're really disruptive, they can't cross that official line. Because I don't think Milei or Trump will be willing to die for their countries. And so there's boundaries that they're going to stay within to make sure that they don't harm themselves or their loved ones. Because if things get bad as far as them being disruptive, they're coming for your family. You know what I'm saying? They're coming for your entire bloodline. That's how these people don't play. They're not just playing with a political party or two. You're playing with, principalities and powers in high places. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you start messing with the Satan's plan, I mean, he's saying like apart from the Lord's anointing on you, he's gonna, you're a marked man. So anyway, I'm rambling. I'm rambling. Forgive me. Anyway, phone lines are open, man. If you guys want to chit chat, feel free to hit me up. You got the number 313-462-0027. Let's talk. Switch from top chats to live chat if you are missing chats. Top chats to live chats. Yeah, so well, I'm not sure that's for me or not, but in this little software here, I think as stuff pops up, it shows on my side. Wayne Smith says El Salvador BTC as payment as well as currency money. Wayne Smith, I'm not sure what that's about. So yeah, so El Salvador. I went to El Salvador. I went to Bitcoin Beach because I wanted to survey the land, and had a great time in El Salvador. Beautiful country, and the president's doing a good job. But the problem is, Bitcoin ain't really being used like that. So it's more Western media hype than it is actually being used. Because when I was down there, the Bitcoin Beach is literally like 2 blocks, 3 blocks. It's a very small area, and you got a lot of vendors and restaurants, but it was more Americans there than it was local. So it's like, I was very shocked because I was expecting more. But then again, I know it's the beginning. It's just starting down there, so it's has a lot of potential. But definitely, I will be going back there because I had a good time. Fishbowl says, Mike, what would happen to the federal debt if the union was to break apart? Great point. Great question. So if the union was to break apart, meaning that all the states go their own separate way, and assuming that they would then reinstate gold and silver back into legal tender format and circulation, or they wouldn't do that. They would probably come out with some type of digital representation, like it'd be like the Michigan, not saying Michigan coin, but it'd be some type of Michigan payment method. Then at that point, it'd be the federal debt literally it's dependent upon all states paying tax revenue to the central government to then pay the interest, never the principal. So at that point, if there's no single union, i.e. the federal government, then there's no funds going our way. Then the debt in of itself, I ain't gonna say it will be discharged, but then again, like it's gonna be, like the holders ass out. You know what I'm saying? Like people who holding liabilities will be ass out, and that includes Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, pensions, all that stuff like that, hedge funds. So that debt will go back to its intrinsic value of 0. But then again, the pain would come from that as well because there ain't nothing there. So that's what happened in a short and quick run by. So basically the debt would be null and void. But then again, the pain of not having anything coming your way would suck. So it's no like it will be no substitute. You couldn't alleviate all that debt and then make the holders or make the creditors, which are the pensioners as well as the retirees, Social Security recipients, and everybody else whole. You couldn't make them whole again just because where the funds coming from. They have to, some form of value has to come from somewhere. And as of right now, I don't think they're going to try to revalue the gold in Fort Knox to make people whole again. So anyway, so going down that road, because the debt is unpayable, it only equals pain. It only equals people missing out on what they thought was there. It's unavoidable. And that's why I think their goal, meaning all the powers that work, our government agencies with the pharmaceutical companies and, the Gates Foundation, how they're trying to reduce population, by 2025 so that, if the population miraculously disappears or decimates down to $100 million, that's 200 or so million that they're now on the hook for. So that makes it easier to them not to worry about those people, wanting to get paid something. And, it's very sad to say the least. What else says the U.S. birth certificate? Citizenship is a guarantee for the debt. Yeah. Okay. Through the DTCC. Yep. I understand that. But then again, the birth certificates, which are collateral for, what is it like? Was it the Crown of England or whoever the owners of the federation is, or however that goes? I've heard a lot of stories about that, and that's where going down that road there is like, okay, that's history at this point. Like, no single individual, no president, especially, gonna touch a subject like that because it's gonna mess up their money. Like, so it's like that stuff will go on forever to where it serves as good information to know, but then again, it's like, at the point that someone has that knowledge and comes up with a solution or a plan, other than like, hey, don't pay taxes. That's one of the plans. Everybody say, just don't pay taxes. So just don't pay taxes. Okay, one person do that, you might get away with it for a while. 100 people do that, they just, red flags gonna go off. They're gonna start sending some little birdies to your door. That's why they loading up 87,000 people with guns, because they know at some point people are not gonna start paying. So what? They're gonna have their military troops ready to come to your door. Because I assume that's going to come, because if people don't have jobs, then what can you pay? You know what I'm saying? Then people are going to go to under the table work and the black market work. And then that's when the agent's going to say, hey, we know you getting bread. We want some of that. And so, yeah, anyway, I'm just ranting, just having a little fun. By the way, for those who are tuned in, we got a little shy 89 or so people here. If you haven't already, hit the thumbs up button. Show your love for the channel. It definitely helps. Show your boy some love. What else we got here? Slavery by definition. Yeah, modern day slavery. The theft of your time, skills, and your monetary value. Any thoughts on Bill? What it says? Let me get here. Any thoughts on Bill Gates' authentication ID program? He wants everyone to authenticate to protect people. I saw some things about that, and I'm not surprised at all. It's unfortunate, and I don't enjoy saying this, but at some point, if they continue this and they press long and hard enough, it's going to come through. They're going to get what they want just because they got the unlimited funds to do it at the governmental level. And none of our government politicians will even mention the word Bill Gates, nevertheless his foundations or any of the things he's doing, which is all suspect and questionable. Our politicians will never touch that because they know the limitations. They can't, because if they do that, they'll lose their job and their pensions, and their kids won't be able to go to private schools and go to Stanford for free and, all that stuff like that. So we're not going to touch that. So long story short, it may not work in the short term, but 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, it's good to say that stuff will go through, just because the average person doesn't know or care. Like, the only people who really care about stuff like this are the people that's here right now. and maybe a couple other thousand. There's a lot of people doing a good job. Alex Jones has a large community. He's I'm saying, he's out there telling people what's going on. We got David Icke. We got all the legends in the alternative media space to tell the truth, but that's still 2% of the population. Not enough to make the type of change that we need. In order to make real change at the level at the top of this system here, we need more than half of this American population to wake up, realize what's going on, and take action. And take action means taking advantage of the rights that we have to bear arms and to go to where it matters most, which is at your local governor, which you get with your marshals, your sheriffs, and then let those people help you out a little bit. Take back your state, take back the state by state, and then we can start seeing some change. But yeah, can't never say it's too late or it's not possible. But then again, once again, as I mentioned, if only 2% of the population know, the other 90%, the other 98% might turn on us because we care. That's how sad it is. And I saw something about there's an article about, I think it was in Russia. I think it was Russia. They got a program where the citizens are incentivized to snitch on their neighbors if they see something or something don't look right, or because of that whole little uproar they had, a little potential civil unrest with the was it earlier this year? I think it was. And so they actually had people ratting on their neighbors. And the article was talking about how it's getting out of control because everybody's snitching. And so I'm assuming the compensation or whatever the reward is for snitching on your neighbors is worth it because people are doing it. So imagine if the government here comes out with a, snitch on thy neighbor, saying for a tax credit or another stimulus check. You know how many people are going to be ratting on people? They're going to be making up stuff. That's how bad it is. So, yeah. People want tea. Oh, man. I saw, man. This country, boy. This world. It's fading. The Wagner Group. There you go. Carl, there you go. The Wagner Group. Man, I was just watching a little clip. I think it was like a Nike outlet. I think it was in Chicago or something. And they got people shopping with their families in there. And then all of a sudden you got all these kids running in with masks on, snatching up shoes, dumping garbage bags full of shoes, grabbing stuff off the shelf and running out. Security guard just standing there. I'm thinking man, in what world, in what era, what time frame would that type of stuff take place? And it'd be people with cameras like, oh man, I'm trying to go viral. You know what I'm saying? That's how fallen our society has gone. But then again, it's a part of this agenda of literally destroying our moral fabric. And I was thinking about how it's unfortunate that it started well before my time. But I'm thinking removing the Bible out of school and prayer out of school was one of the first steps. And then since I'm here, let me share something with you that really is disturbing. Let me grab this real quick. So this is, let me copy. I'm a little bit everywhere tonight, but forgive me. This is an article that I share in a Telegram. So another thing, I share more articles in a Telegram than I do during these hangouts because it's not easy. But look at this. It says Satanic Temple after school club wins 200K settlement from Hellertown School District. So you got the Satanic Temple, and it says, look at their little slogan, education with Satan. So this stuff right here flies in our public schools to where it says the club models, education with Satan. This is where things are heading. And it's unfortunate, but this stuff has to take place in order to get us to the final end for this realm of life. So anyway, it's just sad day, man. Sad day in our country. But then again, if you have anything to do with the Bible, mentioning Jesus Christ, ACLU gonna march, everybody and their mama gonna come out, shut that down. We don't want that. Yeah, but this type of stuff right here, got a little back. They got in trouble for it, but then they end up winning a little agreement, a little settlement. So anyway, it is what it is. It is what it is. 30 shekels. What we got? All right. Well, I didn't get no calls tonight, so obviously you guys just enjoy hanging out, listening to me rant, and that's all good with me. Give me something to get off my chest. But anyway, back at it tomorrow, or maybe not tomorrow. I'm gonna try, but I'm gonna try to do some little news updates tomorrow as best I can, just to keep you guys plugged in. I'm sure you guys are tuned in anyway, but I'll share my 2 cents on top of thing. Wayne, 100%. The Bible did predict this, and literally, within now and whenever he returns, it could be any time between now and that time, things have to take place. And that's why I'm not like, all like, oh, the war's coming to an end. No, this is it. No, like, this is just a process, man, to get to eternity. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's, as much as I would love to say that I can play a bigger part in this, I realize that this battle is not mine, because it's not necessarily against me personally. It's like our enemy, Satan himself, doesn't want anything to do with God's children. So me as a believer, I know the attack is on me just because I got the Holy Spirit in me. So, I'm like, I know that I'm in the world, but not of it. So this ain't my final go round here. So that's why I'm like, I'm blessed. I'm covered in the blood. I'm fine. I mean, do the best I can, live life, enjoy life, try to bless people. But then again, like, I know this ain't it. So that's why I'm like, I'm not hanging on to this as if this is all there is. So that's why I don't get all bent out of shape when craziness happens, because, that's part of the cycle, man. Anyway, be blessed, people. Be blessed. Stay prayed up, get your weight up, love, give hugs, and do everything you can to enjoy life while you still got it, because it is a gift. Thank God for it. So, all right, my good people, be blessed, be safe. I will see you guys later. Peace.
Visit Rethinking the Dollar throughout the day, your place for news on metals, gold, crypto, you name it. Scroll down to the bottom and you get a chance to see the daily videos, the recommended videos, and more importantly, the 5 reasons to unplug from the monetary matrix, with the first one being the awakening period. Step number 1, test your dollar IQ. 10 simple questions, average is 60%. Follow up with the alternative perspective with the monetary reports. Consider becoming a supporter of the Rethinking the Dollar platform via Patreon. Get a chance to hang out off air, as well as additional information that can't be discussed on YouTube. Any support is helpful. With the crackdown on alternative media, the best thing to do is to connect off air. Scroll down to the very bottom. You can find Rethinking the Dollar on Telegram, audio, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, you name it. The most important ones will be the email list, where you can get notified weekly, the Discord page, and make sure you connect on Telegram. And last, don't forget to visit the RTD store, where you can get merchandise as well as additional information and resources. And most importantly, scroll down to the bottom and get your weight up with all the limited edition rounds only available on the RTD store.